Dear students, today we are going to discuss about tragicomedy. What is tragedy? Tragicomedy. It is a drama in which elements of both tragedy and comedy are intertwined. The term can be described as serious play with happy ending which contains enough comic elements to enlighten the overall mood. It is a drama in which techniques of both tragedy and comedy are intertwined. It permits the audience an indulgence in both tears and laughter. Now we will come to the purpose of tragic comedy. What is the purpose of tragic comedy? Tragedies are, as we know, tragedies are rarely enjoyable affairs, while comedies are rarely inspire as much moral introspection and emotion as tragedy, but they tend to be much more enjoyable. Tragedies attempt to blend the while the purpose of tragic comedy is to attempt to blend positive and potential in both genres. Either it is tragedy or it is comedy. So we will focus upon the origin of tragic comedy. Tragic comedy at first coined by Titus Maxius Plautus, who was a Roman dramatist of 2nd century BC. He coined this term tragicomedy in his most important play Amphitryon. As a genre, tragicomedy, however, developed in the 16th century, but it reached on its height in 17th century. Early examples of French playwrights they were Robert Grenier, Bradmont, and Batista. They are earliest playwright of this tragicomedy. They are French writers. So tragicomedy essentially disappeared by the time of 18th century, but it re-emerged in the late 19th century in serious realistic works that incorporate comic elements such as Henrik Ibsen's The Wild Duck and Anton Chekhov's The Cherry Orchard. Today, this term is often applied to the modern works such as Theatre of the Absurd and even to the novels. Samuel Beckett, who is most important writer of Theatre of the Absurd playwright, he wrote his Waiting for Godot, a tragicomedy in two acts. We can find this tragicomedy element in this play. And even Harold Pinter and Tom Stoppard, who are also absurdist playwrights, their plays are also filled with these comic elements. Now we will focus upon Elizabethan playwright who was Shakespeare. He also who was considered as master hand in blending tragedy and comedy in his plays. He has written many tragic comedies. The function of drama is to represent the life of man as it is. According to Shakespeare, he said that uh, a writer should represent the real life of the society. Shakespeare fully realized that man is composed of smiles and tears, and he, in the delineation of purely tragical side or the purely comical, one is bound to be artificial. If we will focus only upon tragical aspect of the life, then it will become the tragedy will become artificial. And if we will focus only upon uh, comical side of life, then it will also become artificial. So Shakespeare has made a good blend of these tragic comic element in his plays, like Merchant of Venice, Cymbeline, The Winter's Tale. If we study these plays of Shakespeare, we can find that he has mixed very beautifully the elements of tragic comedy in a single play. So there are some other writers who has also written such tragicomic plays like John Dryden, who belongs to 17th century. He has written The Rebel Ladies. It was also very famous in that time, and now even we can study and we will find after studying this play we can see that there is a mixture of comic and tragic element in this play. In this play, Rebel Ladies, it was written in 1664. And next other writer of that century was Afra Zain. She also wrote a great comedy that was The Widow Ranter. The Widow Ranter. It was written in 1689. And next writer who belongs to modern era, he was J.M. Singe. His most important play that was the Playboy of the Western World. If we study this play, we can find that J.M. Singe has made a mixture of comic and tragic element in this play. This play was written in 1907. So these are the writers who includes tragic comic element in their play. And after we cannot say that only dramatist has used these kinds of tragicomic element for their works, but even some novel writers have also used this tragicomic element in their novels. The writer like David Foster Wallace, he has his Infinite Jest is a fine example of this tragicomic element. And J.K. Rowling's The Casual Vacancy, these are some important novels in which we can see that the writers have used great these elements of tragicomic element. So in this way we can say that not be, the our life is a mixture of tragedy and comedy, because sometimes we feel sadness and sometimes we feel happiness. Our life is mixture of seriousness and lightness. So uh, we should study these elements of the tragic comedy. Thanks for watching.